It's your boy D Neal back with another reaction video, guys. Here we are with Americans who moved abroad. What are the things you no longer fear? I'm interested to hear these answers, and before we do hear them, make sure you guys subscribe to that channel, ring notification bell, get a video a thumbs up so it gets suggested. Social media, Patreon, all up top. You can subscribe to any of it, put all the links in the description. All you gotta do is hit the link, follow me, talk to me, humor me. I'll talk back. You guys got a favorite video suggestion, you can subscribe to Patreon or drop it in the comment section. Oh my god!
If you're an American that has moved abroad, what are the things you've realized that you no longer fear?
Oh, this is fun. Okay, in the last 10 years, I've lived in 3 different countries that aren't America, and the first thing would definitely be healthcare. I found myself in the hospital maybe several times. Anesthesia, stitches, IV fluids, IV meds, whatever. Never paid more than $50. Never.
Oh wow.
Let's see, walking alone as a girl at night.
Okay.
Never had to worry about, like, someone jumping me or shooting me or whatever out of nowhere. Never had a weapon on me, nothing. Now I always carry a weapon. Never walk alone. Well, I try not to walk alone. Just wouldn't really do it here now. Calling in sick. You can call in sick in other countries, and your boss isn't going to make you feel like a terrible person and like you're just the worst person on the planet for missing a day of your job where they're working you to death and probably not paying you enough. And yeah.
If you're an American that
Yeah, I agree with her points. You really can't afford to get sick here, big time. Definitely don't do it. Here in America, don't do it. Just don't get sick. I don't know how you stop yourself, but just don't get sick. Walking alone as a woman at night, yeah, that's something I've never had to experience. But I can definitely understand the fear for sure. And then bosses and jobs, yeah. If you call in sick, my bro called in sick the other day, and the job got mad at him. Like, bro, like he had a fever. Like, how can you be mad at him?
And yeah.
Sick? It makes no sense.
if you're an American that has moved abroad, what are the things you've realized that you no longer fear? Because living in
The things that I no longer feared when I moved out the country. I no longer feared the police in any capacity. There was police in Jamaica that had assault rifles as their normal weapon, and I still felt comfort and ease around them.
Wow.
I no longer felt outnumbered in, well, any situation, because quite literally, everyone around me was black. I no longer felt the fear of exploring like how you feel here, because when I go places, I love to explore and go through neighborhoods and see things and stuff like that. In America, you end up in the wrong neighborhood, that could be a death sentence. But when I was out of the country in Jamaica, I could explore any neighborhood, anywhere, and nobody be asking crazy questions like, who you, where you belong, this, that, and the third.
Yeah.
I no longer feared the end of the month and my cost of living. Because in Jamaica, I ended up paying about $300 in bills a month versus here where I'm paying over $5,000 sometimes.
He said 300. Like that? No way that includes rent. Because if that include rent, Jamaica, I might be. If that include rent, Jamaica, I might be headed to y'all.
Versus here where I'm paying over $5,000 sometimes. I never feared the people that, you know, somebody could be having a bad day and then that be it for me, my life, and my daughter. Instead, the people were nice and friendly and this, that, and the third. I never feared expressing myself and who I was. I actually trained drastically more when I was there because I felt less judged and I felt more comfortable to be myself. You know what I mean?
I like that.
I never feared for my life. I never feared for my well-being. I never feared losing my life to gun violence. I never feared anything like that. And yes, I'm aware that countries have their own problems. And yes, Jamaica has a few. But none of them concern me too much because none of them happened to me. You don't understand how many things you really fear or how many things you actually have become accustomed to or fearing until you leave. Because I have never felt more at ease. I've never felt more peaceful. You know how many times I fell asleep with my door wide open? and nothing happened except maybe a crab broke in. You know how many times I would just be out walking around, no weapon on me whatsoever, run into a group of people and be like, oh, hey, what's up, what's up? No need for social anxiety or nothing.
Yeah.
It was freeing. It was peaceful, and it's home to me. Jamaica is always feeling like home to me.
If you're an American that has moved
I love that. Yeah, he definitely sounds a lot more comfortable, a lot happier, a lot less fearful in Jamaica. A lot of these things that he feared, I've never really felt because I guess I haven't experienced too many, like personally, I haven't experienced a lot to fear a lot of these things. But I can understand where he's coming from. I can definitely get where he's coming from with it. And Jamaica, dang, Jamaica sounds like one of the safest places on earth. By the way, he's talking about it.
Jamaica is always feeling like home to me.
if you're an American that has moved abroad, what are the things you've realized that you no longer fear? Because living in Australia, New Zealand, the UK, the Americans I've spoken to here, they all have the same stories about how they saw a fight break out across the room when they were out at a pub or something like that, and they realized they no longer fear that it could escalate into gunshots. When they all have stories about fireworks and realizing the day they realize that there are always fireworks now. They realize that they've been through an entire year and not had to worry about taxes because taxes are just calculated for you.
Yeah.
And they don't fear that they could get those wrong. They got ill and went to the hospital and they realized they don't fear what it could cost anymore. They had an interaction with the police and they weren't afraid. They requested time off from their boss, and their boss was just wondering why they made a big deal out of it. And they just said, book it in the system because they get 4, 5, 6 paid weeks off now, and it's no longer an issue.
Nice.
There's loads of things. So tell me your stories. If you're an American that has moved...
Yeah, it sounds like overseas. There's a lot of Americans that are just happier overseas. That just think things or feel like things are better. From what I'm hearing from these stories so far, it's understandable why they would feel that way, especially the healthcare. They're not afraid of gun violence, really. They're not afraid of talking to police officers. They're not afraid to take time off work. You know what I'm saying? Where a lot of these things in America, it seems like a lot of people fear this.
now, and it's no longer an issue. There's loads of things. So tell me your stories. If you're an American that has moved abroad, what are the things you've realized that you no longer fear?
I'm an American living abroad in Australia, Central Coast, New South Wales. I've been here for about 2 months.
Shout out
Everything
my
this guy
Aussies.
says is 100% accurate. I was on a train from Melbourne to Sydney yesterday. 2 people got into a full-on fight. Cops were called. It happened right next to me, and not once did I think that it might escalate to gunshots. You know why? Because no one has a fucking gun here, bro. It's that simple. Like, you don't feel as scared, bro. There's a lot less intensity in these social situations, especially with cops. Like, I'm not scared of cops, bro. I'm not even in the U.S. because I personally have nothing to hide. But you're not worried about that type of stuff here because I know for a fact that Aussie police are not going to think that I may have a gun. It's like
Yeah.
99.9% of people here do not have guns, and you just feel a lot safer with everything you go. Even in the worst parts of this country, you're going to feel a lot safer because you know that no one's going to rob you at fucking gunpoint, and it's just how it is.
If you're an American that has moved abroad, what are the things you've realized that you no longer fear?
Walking around alone at night. I'm an American and I live in Copenhagen, Denmark. The first time I came here, I was studying abroad, so I was like 19 or 20. And I remember walking home from a bar by myself at like 3:30 in the morning and realizing I felt so safe. I didn't like have my phone out ready to call 911 or 112. Didn't have my keys out ready for self-defense if I needed it. I was just walking and I wasn't worried. And I've never not been worried when I've been walking alone by myself at night in the US. Wow. And I think that was one of the moments where I was like, I would really like to live here. And now I do. And honestly, I've never felt unsafe at night.
If you're an American that has moved abroad, what are the things you've realized that you no longer fear?
So I don't live abroad. I live in the States. But one of the neatest things happened to me when I was in Iceland a couple years ago. At the second Airbnb that I stayed at, I wanted to do just some day hiking because I was exhausted from a very long day that ended in climbing a volcano in the middle of the night before.
Oh, wow.
So I asked the Airbnb
so
host,
dope.
I'm like, so where can I walk? He goes, anywhere. And I said, yeah, but at what point will I be trespassing? When do I cross property lines? Are there landmarks that I need to keep in mind? And he smiled and he said, we don't have that here. You can walk anywhere. And I was like, What, no Bubba with a shotgun gonna come out and tell me to get off his land? And he kind of laughed. They just don't do that there. Life was fearless.
If you're an American that has moved abroad, what are the
it's crazy, bro. Like one of the things I'm hearing most is like a fear of like gun violence and fights turning into gunshots or firecrackers, gunshots. Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of fear of walking at night for the women. U.S. like we gotta do something to make people feel safer. We gotta figure it out because this is craziness.
Life was fearless.
if you're an American that has moved abroad, what are the things you've realized that you no longer fear?
Listen, when I live in Germany, the amount of like, maybe it was just Bonn, but even Berlin, okay, basically, I would be, goofed out of my mind. It would be 1:45 in the morning. I'd be taking a public transportation bus home by myself because I lived alone. Well, with my house family, but like no roommates. And then I would walk the 10 minutes to my house from the bus station in the middle of the night. And I'd be like, yeah, I'm cool. Let me listen to a podcast. One time I fell asleep on the bus. Like I said, and I woke up and I was like 20 minutes away from my stop. And I was like, well, that's not good. So I just got off and walked the 20-minute walk. I also had a very, very loud alarm.
If you're an American that has moved abroad, what are the things you've realized that you no longer fear?
I'm not afraid of the outside. And I know that sounds stupid, but as an American that has just relocated to the UK, I'm sat outside in my garden. It's a little chilly, but it's not bad because I'm from the north in fucking America, so.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
But, it's a little chilly, but it's quiet. There's no yelling, screaming, bottles smashing. I'm not afraid my neighbors are going to try to unalive me. I'm not afraid that they're going to steal anything. Like, it's completely normal if you are not here to pick up a package that you ordered for the post to literally drop it off at a neighbor's house, and they will just keep it for you. When people walk here, I'm significantly less afraid of being hit by a car, or getting lost. Like, I mean, the only thing left to be afraid of here is ghosts because it's ancient as heck here, but like, I'm not even afraid of ghosts. So this has all been very novel. It's nice and quiet. I'm
Requested time off from their boss.
This is wild, bro. Like, dang. She said I'm not afraid of out. She was afraid of outside where she was living. Outside in America, she was. I guess I feel like there's violent things that have happened in my city for sure. I don't know. I may be a less fearful person than a lot of people because I guess there's a lot of things that I don't stress about or that I don't fear. Cause I'm like, being scared or stressed doesn't help in a lot of situations. So, but I can understand what they mean. You see so much on the media, you see so much on the news, and like I said, even here in my town, like don't get me wrong, like there's violence that happens here, like people lose their lives, gunshots, and it's crazy to hear about. I've never like thought about it happening to me, I guess.
So this has all been very novel. It's nice and quiet. I'm
Requested time off from their boss, and their boss was just wondering why they made a big deal out of it, and they just said,
That video is so good at pointing out all of the things that we live in fear of in the US. And the one in particular that gets me is the idea that I have to fear losing my job every time I have to call out of
That
work.
is one
And
that
like I have a part-time
I
job
used to feel.
that I can only work part-time because I am also a full-time mom. But I'm so scared of losing my job. And it's been so clear to me, like the fear is ever present this past week because I've had to call out of so many shifts. And I'm just like, I keep over explaining in every email whenever I have to call out because I'm like, I have RSV and I don't want to get anybody else sick. I don't want to get anybody else with young kids sick. But I'm so afraid of losing this job because like I really need it and I don't have paid sick time or anything. So, like.
if you're an American that has moved abroad, what are the things you've realized that you no longer fear?
American here. I've lived abroad for 14 years, 4 years in Switzerland, 9 years now in England. I feel like he made this video because of a comment that I made on one of his videos the other day. I was on a night out in Birmingham the other day and I heard fireworks going off in the street. It wasn't bonfire night, but I know you guys have leftover fireworks after bonfire night, and for like a couple weeks after, you just shoot them off for random times just for fun in the street. But the first thing that came to my mind was shooting. There's a shooting. And I had like massive panic come on. And my friend that I was out with saw it in my face and he goes, "Hey, it's cool. You're not in America anymore. Those are fireworks, not a shootout." So the fact that I don't have to worry about random massive shootings, that's a nice thing now.
If you're an American that has moved abroad, what are the things you've realized that you no longer fear?
So I'm an American currently living in Canada. And everything that this original poster already like mentioned are things that I would have said. So I don't have anything to add in that regard, but what I sort of will contribute is that about 6 months into me living here, I've lived here for a year. It'll be a year next month. About 6 months into living here, I all of a sudden felt this extreme wave of emotion and like physical release in what almost felt like, as somebody with an anxiety disorder, it almost felt like I was coming down from an anxiety attack out of absolutely nowhere. Like everything was going completely fine in my life. Nothing had happened and I couldn't figure out where this huge release was coming from. And I did a lot of reflecting on it, and I realized that it was my body finally beginning to release the trauma of having lived in the United States for 23 years. Like, my body actually began to physically process just the daily lived trauma of being from the United States and having just lived in Canada for 6 months, not gone through anything extraordinary here, just taking myself out of the environment of being in the United States was this huge trauma release for my body. Like it was the first time that my body actually felt safe somewhere. So that was really, really fun to go through, and to realize that that is what I've put myself through for 22 years. I'm really curious if any other Americans living abroad have gone through that same thing.
What's the most inappropriate?
I ain't never heard of that. That's crazy. Yeah, America. There's a lot a lot. Hearing these stories is just sad and it's crazy about all the fear that these people had from living in the United States. Like, it's ridiculous. But that's all we got for this one. You guys got a favorite video suggestion? You can subscribe to Patreon or drop it in the comment section. Subscribe to the channel, ring notification bell, get a video a thumbs up so it gets suggested. Social media and Patreon all up top. You can subscribe to any of it. Put all the links in the description. All you gotta do is hit the link, follow me, talk to me. Love talking to you guys. You guys are the most incredible team on YouTube. It's your boy Neal. Out.